Welcome again to the rest of chapter 6. As Ordinary traveled up the valley, he met more giants. Some, like Moneyless, were obstacles that he had to get around. Some, like Corruption, opposed his dream and fought him fiercely. Some, like Rejection, attacked him personally and left him deeply wounded. But Ordinary met other dreamers too. During seasons of rest, they gathered to tell stories about the dream giver and encourage each other. From other dreamers, Ordinary learned to see a bigger picture. Every giant was another opportunity for him to learn something and for the dream giver to receive honor. Higher and higher, Ordinary moved up the valley, battling the giants on the way to his dream. One day, Ordinary came across a wounded warrior lying on a quiet hill. Ordinary dropped down by her side. "How can I help you?" "My wounds are too many and great," she said. "This will be my dying place." Ordinary's heart broke. "But why? Why would the dream giver let you be defeated? You've come so far. You have to finish your big dream." Can you relate? We all say this. We all say this. And I personally have no reply for this. I'm still struggling with this. She had no reply. Night fell. The wounded warrior grew weaker. Finally, in the darkness, she said, "Tell me the name of your dream." After Ordinary did, the warrior was quiet for a time. Then she spoke. "This is the name of my dream also. I fought giants ahead of you. You will find giants more after me. But we have the same big dream." In the first light of dawn, she spoke for the last time. "Death is not my defeat," she whispered. "It's my victory." That morning, Ordinary buried his warrior friend on the hilltop. Then he sat for a long time, looking across the hills and valleys. He thought about the warrior's life and about her death. He thought about her dying words, and he became certain that he would not have gotten this far on the path to his dream if his friend had not gone before him. Finally, Ordinary took his long white feather and wrote the truth on her headstone. "Here lies a mighty warrior." She finished her dream. Soon after leaving the hill, Ordinary began to sense that he was almost through the Valley of Giants. He was getting closer to the place where he could do what he wanted to do most, and he walked faster in anticipation. Then one day, just as he caught a glimpse of the high country ahead, he stumbled across a small camp of ragged anybodies. Ordinary had never met any anybodies, but he had heard of them. They were a lot like nobodies. The anybodies told him they were from the city of anybodies that lay just ahead. A giant of darkness oppressed the city from his stronghold at the gates. No anybody could leave or enter. It had been that way for so long that no anybody could remember how long it had been that way. When Ordinary asked about the dream giver, the anybodies just shook their heads. Few believed in him. Other warriors had mentioned his name, they said, but they had passed by without challenging their giant. Should he pass by too? He couldn't wait to find his big dream. Then Ordinary heard the dream giver's voice. He said, "Prepare for battle." Word spread quickly through the camp. The warrior named Ordinary was about to challenge the giant of darkness in the name of the dream giver. Anybody's crowded around the giant stronghold to watch. Ordinary walked up to the gate and cried, "Giant of darkness, in the name of the dream giver, I come to defeat you. I proclaim deliverance of every anybody in the camp and every anybody in the city." When the giant burst out, of its stronghold, the anybody's gasped. None of these anybody's will ever be free, the giant roared. Their lives are worthless. Their hopes are lies. Then he attacked with the heaviest chains of darkness that Ordinary had ever seen. Ordinary fought courageously. He fought with the Dreamgiver's power. He used every weapon and piece of armor he had. Courage, confidence, wisdom. All day, the sound of warfare crashed through the valley. But by mid-afternoon, anybody could see that Ordinary was growing weaker, while the giant was as strong as ever. Ordinary retreated to the edge of the field and cried out to the Dreamgiver, "Are you with me?" "Yes." "This giant is too strong for me." "Yes, it is." "A victory will take a miracle." "Yes, it will." "So what should I do?" "Prepare for a miracle," said the Dreamgiver. "Lay down your weapons, take only your feather, and you will bring me great honor." Leave his weapons? Unbelief swept through Ordinary's heart. What the Dreamgiver asked was impossible. Then Ordinary remembered. He remembered surrendering his dream and getting it back even bigger and better than before. He remembered the Dreamgiver's goodness in the wasteland, even when he was nowhere in sight. He remembered the dying warrior's victory, and he remembered his big dream. And that's when Ordinary turned away from unbelief. Remember when it was said unbelief is your worst enemy? So he turned away from unbelief and decided to take a big risk for the Dreamgiver. He put down his weapons. Anybody groaned in disappointment. Then Ordinary picked up his knapsack, pulled out his feather, and walked toward the giant. The anybody's gasped in disbelief. But the giant only laughed. "Are you going to knock me over with a feather?" it roared. Ordinary wasn't sure what to do or say until the giant of darkness towered over him. Then the Dreamgiver told him just what to do. He raised his long white feather high above his head, and as he did, it grew heavy in hand, as heavy as a sword. "If the Dreamgiver is for me," Ordinary shouted, "what giant can stand against me?" Then he swung the feather in a mighty arc right across the giant's evil heart, and when he swung, an amazing thing happened. Chains scattered in pieces, darkness fled, and the giant collapsed in a heap, defeated at Ordinary's feet. The anybody's knew a miracle when they saw one. Soon a noisy, happy procession led Ordinary past the defeated giant, around his dark stronghold, and up to the gates of their city. With every step, the joyful anybody's sang praises, but the praises were not for Ordinary. "The Dreamgiver is good," they sang. "The Dreamgiver is strong. Victory belongs to the Dreamgiver." For the first time that anybody could remember, they were free. Sitting by the warrior's grave, Ordinary took his feather and wrote the truth about the Valley of Giants. "I met a friend who shared my dream and helped me make it happen. Before I met my first giant, I met the commander. He told me I am a warrior. He showed me that my weapons are every truth I've learned on my journey. Unbelief is dangerous. So far, I've chosen to believe, but it feels risky every time. Even though I've been prepared to face my giants, I still need the Dreamgiver's powers. Every time I defeat a giant, the Dreamgiver receives honor. Giants, beware." And that's the end of chapter 6. I'll see you in chapter 7.